What's going on, everybody? It's EricRayweather back here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over 5 tips you can use to help you master defense in Madden 19. Defense is always something that a lot of people seem to have trouble with, and they always, they can't get enough tips when it comes to defense. So I'm going to go over 5 things that are simple but will really help you master defense and help you get more stops in Madden 19. If this is your first time checking out one of my videos and you want to stay up to date on the best tips all year long, consider hitting the subscribe button below and hitting the bell so that you join the notification squad. So let's get right into it. The first tip is going to be very basic, and they're going to get a little bit more advanced. So the first tip is knowing your personnel. This is very important. Here in practice mode, I have the 49ers, and I did this for a reason. So we're going to actually go look at Richard Sherman real quick because I think he is a very good example. So when people think of Richard Sherman, they think, one of the better cornerbacks in the league. Big name guy. He's a 90 in Madden, so he's definitely one of the better cornerbacks in Madden. They just think he's a top cornerback. We can put him out there. He's going to do his thing. Now, there's things you have to take into consideration, okay? He's 88 speed. He's a little bit on the slower end for a cornerback in regular teams. Typically, you want your cornerbacks to kind of be 90-plus speed. 88's a little bit on the slower side, but it's not terrible. But you also got to look under the hood a little bit, look a little bit deeper. You can go over to his coverage and you can see, okay, he has an 88 man coverage, but he has a 92 zone coverage. He's a much better zone cornerback than he is a man. Now, is 88 man bad? No, it's not bad, but it's not elite man coverage skills. You need 90 plus to have elite coverage skills in that department. So, for example, just because you have Richard Sherman doesn't mean you want him out there manned up on Antonio Brown, for example. Why? Because you think, okay, elite cornerback, elite wide receiver, good matchup. But Antonio Brown's definitely got a nice speed advantage on Richard Sherman because he's only 88 speed, and he's got a route running advantage by a lot because Richard Sherman's only got an 88 man coverage, which means he's not going to break on the pass as well, and Antonio Brown is probably going to create more separation. So if you're playing with a Richard Sherman, whether it be an ultimate team or you're playing with the 49ers and regular teams, you're better off having him in zone coverage. And that's not to say that you can never run man coverage, but make sure if you're running man coverage, try to put him in a situation where he's not going to be matched up on an Antonio Brown or somebody that's an elite route runner, because man coverage is not where he shines. You can take this into account with other types of players. If you are using a team that is a 4-3 team, a 4-3 based team on defense, that defensive end is not going to be as good if you put him in a 3-4. Because a 3-4 defensive end is a little bit bigger, bulkier, can stop the run better. If you put a 4-3 defensive end in a 3-4, he's probably not going to do very well against the run. So there's little things like that you need to pay attention to when it comes to your personnel. If you look at your safety, sometimes your backup safety might actually be faster and have the same zone coverage as your starting safety. Maybe their overalls are a couple points different, but the backup safety is actually a better coverage guy. Maybe you want to put him there instead because he's going to do a little bit better in coverage and he has a little bit more speed, so he won't get beat over the top. Think about linebackers. You might have a backup linebacker who has 92 hit power. Maybe you want to put him in the game because he's got a better chance of making those bigger hits and forcing fumbles. So always look under the hood. Don't just look at the overall. Look and see what each player is good at. Look at their tackling, their coverage ratings, their hit power ratings, their play recognition. Those are very important things that you want to look at on your players. Look under the hood. Don't just go by the overall because it doesn't tell the entire story. So number 2 on the list is going to be scheming. So we're going to briefly touch on just some basic things on how to scheme. So here we'll just come out in a nickel defense here. And what I mean by scheming is, now, some good players, yes, they kind of can just run the same blitz over and over, or they'll just run the same coverage over and over because they have very good user ability. They adjust on the fly very well, and they can just kind of run the same play. But for the average person, you don't want to do this. You want to scheme. You want to try to confuse your opponent and catch him off guard. So, for example here, let's say maybe you're a cover 2 style guy. You like running cover 2 as your base defense, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, you run your cover 2. This is our cover 2. We're going to run this. Maybe we run it a few plays in a row, but you don't want to run it every play. So, you want to switch it up, especially if you see that your opponent, maybe you ran cover 2 for 2 plays in a row and it worked. And then on the third time, your opponent was expecting cover 2, so they pulled out a cover 2 beating concept, and they converted the first down. This is when you need to start switching it up, because if your opponent's expecting cover 2, you need to throw something else at him. So you want to throw a cover 3 at him sometimes, right? Because if he pulls out a cover 2 concept to try to beat cover 3, you have an advantage in that department now, and he doesn't know what to expect play in and play out. Also, in terms of blitzing, so let's say, we've called cover 2 a bunch, and it's been successful. Now maybe we run a cover 2 blitz. So I mean, not that this is like a great blitz or anything, but just as an example, we're just going to set up a blitz, and we're going to have less coverage on the field, but we're trying to catch them off guard. It's our responsibility now, to watch over the middle of the field, make sure we're covering stuff, and you see the blitz comes in fast. So maybe you sent a blitz off the left edge a few times. Maybe you've caught them off guard with that. Maybe now what you want to do is, instead of blitzing off the left edge, you want to try to create some heat from the right, because they're not expecting that. So maybe, we do something like this. Like I said, not that this is like a good blitz or anything. I'm just trying to give you an example. So instead of, blitzing off the other side, we're going to try to blitz off the right this time, because maybe he's expecting it to come off the left, and then now we hit him from the right side. You always want to be scheming your defense. If you have a blitz from the left, you want to try to have a blitz from the right too that looks the same. So they're seeing the same setup, you're in the same formation. They're thinking, oh, he's going to bring that cornerback off the edge again. I got to watch out for him. Maybe they move their running back over there to block him. But now you send a blitz from the right, and you blindside them. If they're expecting cover 2, you throw a cover 3 at them, or maybe you run a cover 4, or maybe you run a cover 1 defense. Something like that. Maybe you just go all out man every once in a while. Not that man defense is like the best thing in the world in Madden. It's a little bit better this year than it has been, but maybe if you just throw this in every 5 or 6 plays or so, something they're just not expecting. If they're expecting zone and you give somebody man, a lot of times you can catch them off guard and get a coverage sack, because whenever they're not expecting it, they're not going to have the play out there that's typically set to beat it. So mix your coverages up. If you're blitzing from one side, you want to try to blitz from the other side every once in a while too, to catch them off guard. If you have a cover 2 that's your base, you also want to mix in cover 3s, cover 4s, or cover 1, cover 2 man, whatever it might be. You just want to make sure you're scheming. Make everything look the same. Try to find a formation that you like and use all of these plays out of the same formation. So every play you're giving your opponent the same look, but he doesn't know what you're in. Number 3 on the list is going to be adjustments. Now, for the average person, the adjustments might not be something they're good at, so I'm just going to go over a few basic ones really quickly. So, let's just say, let's just say you're running a cover 2, right? That, like I said, that's your thing. You love cover 2, and let's just say that someone is kind of beating you to the flats or beating you with like wheel routes. Wheel routes to the running back are very good this year. So you're just running cover 2, and someone just like keeps dumping this pass off to the flats, and picking up a solid 5 yards of play, right? They're just picking up a solid 5 yards. We'll do it one more time. You see, we're in a cover 2. And, they know that you're in that cover 2, and they're like, I can get, this solid 5 or 6 yards of play. It's not a lot, but they're getting a first down every couple plays. How do you eliminate that? If that is just, if someone's got a one-track mind and they're just trying to throw to the flats every play, you want to shade your coverage underneath. You do this by pressing wire triangle and then down on the right stick. That's going to play underneath coverage. So now you see, instead of having cloud flats on the field, we have hard flats. So now, if someone's just thinking, oh, they're going to be able to throw to the flats every play, and they try to hurry up and dump it down to the flat, look at that. Richard Sherman was there. He could have picked it off, but even if he doesn't pick it off, he's right there to break the pass up because we shaded underneath. Same thing with drag routes, right? If you're not shading underneath, people are typically going to be able to hit you. They might put 2 drag routes on the field, and, every year people say they have trouble, stopping the drags. There they actually stopped it pretty decently, but a lot of times people are having trouble, stopping drags for 5+ yards. It doesn't matter if you're in cover 3, if you're in cover 2, shade your defense underneath. Again, wire triangle down on the right stick. And if you try to throw a drag versus underneath shaded coverage, I mean, you have no shot. I mean, they're all over it. They're all over it every single time. So, anytime you're having trouble with underneath routes, you want to shade your defense underneath. To me, that's one of the more important adjustments that you need to know how to make. Another important adjustment is putting a QB spy on the field. So if you're worried about somebody running the ball, you want to put a QB spy on the field. Take one of your faster linebackers, or even a defensive end if he's fast. You press the A or the X button, depending on which system you're on, and then left on the right stick, that puts a QB spy on the field. That's good because if you have someone that's going to try to run with the quarterback now, this guy is going to spy him. He's not going to allow that quarterback to run. But what else is good is this year, spies are very good at picking passes off over the middle of the field. I did a video about this. So, for example, watch what happens here if we try to send Gronk over the middle of the field or something like that. The spy is going to get underneath this. If we try to throw the pass, the spy is going to jump up and pick it off. So a spy this year, you should be putting a spy on most of your defensive plays just in general this year because they're so good at picking the ball off. But the main reason you use a spy is to protect against a scrambling quarterback. Another good adjustment you want to do, which is good for scrambling quarterbacks as well, is using the QB contain. This will put your outside rushers in a QB contain. You do this by holding the left trigger or the L2 button, and while you're holding that button down, you want to press the RB or R1 button. So you hold down the left trigger or the L2 button. While it's held down, you press RB or R1. Now you have contains on the outside. So as an example here, if I try to start scrambling out, he's going to disengage because he's setting a hard edge and he's not going to let me scramble out. So that's another important adjustment you need to know versus scrambling quarterbacks. But it's just little bitty adjustments like that. You know, maybe if one player just keeps beating you up the seam or something like that and you're not sure what to do, man a linebacker up on him, right? Like see Gronkowski here, for example. If, you know, maybe you like running cover 2 or something, but you don't understand, you know, why Gronkowski keeps getting deep. Like right there, the linebacker was pretty close on him, but we were able to get over the top. But just as an example, you know, if you're having trouble with like one guy beating you, you can always try manning him up manually. So we can take this linebacker, we press the A or the X button, then we press up on the right stick, and then we select the guy we want to man up. So we want to man up Gronkowski, so we press A. Again, it's A or X, up on the right stick, and then you select the person you want to man up. So now he's manned up. So now we know for sure that we have somebody running with him, you know, the entire time or something like that. So that's always a very, very good little adjustment to make. You sometimes are going to want to man up somebody that you know that, you know, the offense is trying to key in on. You want to just man him up with maybe a second, you know, a slot cornerback or a linebacker. Just give some extra protection to him. So number 3 on the list, definitely want to know how to make adjustments. Now, number 4 on the list is using a linebacker. This is very, very crucial. A lot of people are scared to jump into this because they're not used to it. I'm not going to really go over I'm not going to tell you how to use her in this video because I already have a very in-depth video on it. I'm going to make a new video for this year's Madden, but I do have a video on it already. I'm going to link it in the description. Definitely check that video out because it still applies this year. It applies every year. But basically, you want to use our linebacker because it gives you the opportunity to take away one route every play at least. Even if you're a beginner, you can very basically take away one route per play. And that's important because a lot of people you face, they might only have one route. They might just want to throw a slant or a drag over the middle every play, or you know, they have a post route that they just want to throw over the middle every play. And if you have the ability to take it away with your user, you can completely shut that person down and you guarantee that you win that game, because a lot of people only have one route or one play that they like to go to. That's why usering is important, because you can take away their money route every play once you know, become confident enough to use her. And it's not very hard to take one route away. So again, that video will be in the description. It is very, very, very in-depth, and it'll teach you what you need to know about usering. And now we're going to get into number 5 on the list. Okay, so we transitioned over to a real game for number 5 so that I can show you what number 5 is, and that is coaching adjustments on defense. These can actually be very important. So you have the auto flip defensive play call. This is on by default. I like to turn it off. Basically what that means is that your play will look the same every time you come on the field. But some people like leaving it on because it'll flip to the strong side of the formation. Most people play with this off because, like, for example, if you come out in a blitz, if you're scheming and you come out in a blitz that's coming from the left, but depending on which formation your opponent comes out in, the blitzer might be on the right if you have auto flip on, so that might kind of mess up your scheme a little bit. So I like to leave that off. But we have some other ones. So we have play ball in the air, we have balanced. You can put this on play ball, which means the AI will be a little bit more aggressive at going for interceptions. You can do play receiver, which means they will more so try to knock the ball out of the receiver, or, you know, secure the tackle if he does catch the ball. You can have SWAT ball, which I think is probably the best one this year. SWATs are very good this year, so I would focus on using the SWAT ball feature if you're going to do this, or leave it on balanced. You have cornerback matchups, so you can match them up by overall, by speed, by height, by route running, by depth chart. So like we were talking about earlier with Richard Sherman, maybe you want to do cornerback matchup by speed, and that will ensure that he will never get matched up on somebody faster than him. He'll never get matched up on somebody that's too fast for him. So that's something you can take into account as well. We're just kind of taking these delay of games here so I can go through this list. Option defense is not something I really mess with. Pass rush is a very important one. So you have balanced, which just means, you know, standard pass rush. You have conservative, which means you probably will get no pass rush if you do conservative, but you'll never jump off sides. For online play, you never really want to put this on conservative. Now, aggressive is the one you want to play with sometimes. If you put your pass rush on aggressive, you're going to get a lot quicker block sheds in the pass game. The only problem is it is weaker if they run the ball, and you have a chance to jump off sides if the defense fake snaps or the offense fake snaps, like fake hikes the ball. So be careful with this. For example, you might want to use aggressive pass rush in a situation where it is 3rd and long, maybe it's 3rd and 10, 3rd and 15, maybe towards the end of the game. They really need this first down. You might want to put your pass rush on aggressive because you know your opponent's not running, but also if they were to make you jump off sides, you're not giving up the first down. You'll give up 5 yards, but you'll still be in a 3rd down. But if they don't fake snap you and they just run the play as is, you have a chance of getting them with an easy sack. So play around with this. I put my pass rush on aggressive. If I notice that my opponent is not really fake snapping me, I'll put it on aggressive every time it's a must pass down, like a 3rd and long, and it usually works pretty good. Strips cause a lot of fumbles so far this year. It might get patched, so you might want to consider putting this on aggressive. You will probably get a couple extra fumbles a game by doing this, but there's also a higher chance of the tackle getting broken, so you just have to play around with that. And tackling, kind of similar thing. If you put it on aggressive, you have a higher chance of getting hit sticks pretty much every play by the CPU, but also a higher chance of broken tackles. So in terms of coaching adjustments, the main ones I focus on are the pass rush, the strips, and the tackling. I would say, like I said, put your pass rush on aggressive on passing downs. Put your strip on aggressive all game and just play with it if you feel like you're getting too many broken tackles, and put it back on balanced. And same thing with tackling. If you want a lot of hit sticks to cause fumbles that way, you put it on aggressive. If you notice there's maybe a little bit too much broken tackles happening, then just put it back on balance. But using these coaching adjustments and pulling them out at the right time can definitely help you get stops on defense. So those are the 5 tips to mastering defense. This will definitely help your defense get to the next level, help it, help you get more stops. So I hope this was helpful for you. If you found it helpful, as always, just drop a like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.